What is up, RotoGrinders? Happy Monday. 2 hours nonstop NBA DFS conversation starts right now, taking you all the way up the lock. Crunch time coming in around 6:20 or so. You got Kevin Roth holding that down. Chris Kirkwood, TastefulTides, Tim Buell. Of course, Tim, once upon a time, well, I should say once upon a time, but we had the People Show. He was a part of the People Show. The People Show should return at some point, I imagine, hopefully. But you got 2/3 of the People's Show right now. Myself, I'm Dean. Hi. This is Bobby Gomes. You guys know Bobby. Bobby won $1 million playing daily fantasy sports. Bobby, of course, is the returning champion from last week as well. I believe you were on our Friday show. Bobby, how are things? You actually texted me. You said, "Hey, I think that was a pretty solid show." And you know what? Not to humble brag or anything, but we almost got there. Your boy almost got there. We got second in like the 88. So we had a nice little night on Friday.
I actually did too. Not to one up you. I won like 5K Friday night. So yeah.
Look at you. There you go. Yeah, the two of us. We had a good evening. Hopefully we can keep that momentum going forward. Do want to say what's up to those hanging out in the chat? Kindly hit that like button. Do subscribe. Do turn on those notifications. What was that for the 5K? What is that, like a single entry thing, or I think you weren't rostering 150, right? You're just firing.
I was playing 3 max. I built 150. And yeah, 2 of my 3 teams are very solid. So that was interesting. It was just, I liked the format of last week's show. We kind of just did it a little differently in terms of like, we just kind of talked through the slate and then went game by game, but kind of gave our ideas. So I don't know. Hopefully we can carry over the momentum tonight.
It is also, and you can hear the enthusiasm in Bobby's voice. You know he's excited. It is a movie Monday, which people know at this point, but in case you're not aware, you get yourself a week free of RotoGrinders Premium. If you are the first person to tell me what movie I am talking about with the clues that are being dropped periodically throughout the show. We start with 1, we work up to 5. Well, we get to 5 if we need to, but 1 guess per clue drop. The first one scrolling right now, that clue is dark. And where do you submit your answers? Well, it's the Discord, rotogrinders.com/Discord live stream chat channel. Just give me 1 guess per clue drop. The first clue is dark. What movie are we talking about on a movie Monday? Yeah, I see Tim hanging out in chat. How dare me? Is he mad at me? What did I say? Did I say something mean? I wasn't kicking him out of the People's Show. I'm excited to see Tim back. I feel like I haven't talked to him in a bit.
I feel like I haven't talked to him in a bit either.
I think he's in the midst of a move, or maybe he just moved in the process of moving. So maybe he's settled, maybe he's not. So I would imagine he's been keeping busy with his moving. But yeah, we'll talk to him soon enough. Kirkwood as well, Kid Yahoo, and Roth coming on in an hour and 15 minutes. A little bit different as far as the sites tonight. FanDuel did, they like, you know what? FanDuel's like, we got to have the Hornets on the slate. We can't stop at 9 o'clock. We have to include the Hornets. You just got to do it. The Hornets and the Kings, 10 o'clock on the East Coast, that is included for the FanDuel slate. I was looking at it yesterday. I'm like, there's a chance we might get a sprint slate out of this. And they DK dumps both the last 2 games, but they did include an hour after everything else. You got to have the Jazz and the Blazers. Those are 2 of my favorite teams for DFS. And they're always super predictable. So no goofiness coming, of course not. We have some players rolled out for that game, but the Jazz did give us their stuff. We'll see if anything changes. But I was kind of hopeful that we would drop that last game. Now we have a lot of chalk with Portland and Utah, which always feels spectacular. The other part, as far as this slate, is we have a ton of teams on the back half of a back-to-back. 8 to be precise. I think, is that correct? 8 or 7. Atlanta, the Clippers, Detroit, Indiana, Miami, Atlanta, Minnesota, and OKC. Minnesota, OKC, actually doing a home and home. They're running it back from yesterday. They played yesterday. I believe they played Minnesota. Fairly certain they played Minnesota. Hopped on a plane, and now they're playing in OKC. All right. As far as who's questionable, the big stuff as far as question, not a lot of, we know Embiid's out. He might be done for the season. I mean, yeah, I don't know if he plays again this year. Why would he? At this point, Philly's toast. But Tyrese Maxey is questionable with his finger. That's a big deal because, he would be really, really popular if he does give it a go because they get the pleasure of taking on the Chicago Bulls. Also questionable is Alexander Sarr. Not as big a deal. most of the questionable stuff's been clarified. Jalen Clark is questionable. Fontecchio. This is all on the Situation Room. I'll go ahead and drop this and put it in chat. It is a free piece of content here from RG, and they tell you like who would get the boost, things like that. But Bobby, how are you feeling about the 7-gamer on DK, the 8-gamer on FanDuel? There's a lot of like fringy players. I don't know if fringy is the right word, but like really, really chalky players that aren't really fun players to roster. That's nothing.
Yeah, it's an interesting slate. For one, I think we're going to get Paul George chalk, and he's been terrible.
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of talked through this last slate too with like the Bucks. We're going to be like, you're going to get 376ers a good bit, and probably like a guy like George, I think immediately I want to stay away from. Like when I first looked at the slate as a chalky piece, I'll still play him, but I'm not going to play him if he's coming in at 30%. Like I might be under that or just with the field. A lot of people will try to play him at like 2x. In small field, I might try to fade him. Jared Butler gets an interesting usage bump. I don't know if it makes you excited to play some Jared Butler. Quentin Grimes is going to stand out a ton. Kelly Oubre, Maxey, obviously. So, yeah. The Philly chalk pieces are going to be interesting. I think it's going to be important how you play them. Also, Denver has the highest team total in the slate by about 6 points.
Mm-hmm.
I saw you tagged Joker earlier. Makes sense. Pace up game with Indy too. One of the things that kind of goes overlooked, I think, at NBA DFS is just like game stacking in general. So maybe that's a game you want to look to have a little stack of. Halliburton had a good game a couple slates ago. Not that he's been kind of terrible all year round, but I don't know. Guys like him, Siakam, I think are somewhat interesting. Jokic and all of the Denver pieces make a good bit of sense. Well, the main ones, Jamal Murray, Joker, and Porter, I think are the guys that draw my most interest. Aaron Gordon, too, for what it's worth, throw him in there. He seems like he played better the other night. I think he had a solid fantasy game as a value piece, and he'd been pretty terrible previously.
He was good against the Lakers. They blew the Lakers out.
Yeah,
the Lakers blew them out. Yeah, he was one of the good players amongst the team that did terrible.
And I think he was chalked that day, and he showed up. He did pretty well. So, yeah, that's pretty much how I'm looking at the slate. I think there's some Utah guys that you have to consider as well. Bryce Sensabaugh is someone I'm getting a good bit of. Kyle Filipowski sounds terrible, but
you feel great about that?
No, but it's just like my first run, I guess. I don't know. You don't.
I get it. No, those are players that I'm going to be considering as well because John Collins is out for Utah. Clarkson's out. Kessler's out. Markkanen's out. Sexton's out. Sheboy's out. And this is the Tankathon thing. If you pull up Tankathon, right? Again, you want to be in the bottom 3. Washington's got one of those spots on hold, on lock. They're probably not going to win 5 games the rest of the season. They got 5 games on New Orleans. The win column right now in Tankathon, there are 3 teams that have 14 wins. New Orleans, Utah, and Charlotte. Those teams want to be in the 2-3. Okay, so there's like 2 spots for those 3 teams. It's basically, I don't want to say impossible, but Toronto's got 4 wins on all those teams, and those teams probably aren't going to win enough. It's probably going to be 3 of Washington, New Orleans, Utah in the bottom 3. And Utah's been doing this all year long, and they've been playing their good players more likely against the good teams, and they're sitting their bad players against the bad teams. And Portland's more bad than good, they've been better of late, won 6 of the last 10. But like Philly is right in the verge there too. That's another reason why there's no reason to push Embiid at this point. They're not making the playoffs. Just end it. It's over.
They could use Cooper Flag too.
Oh yeah. I mean, everybody can use them. But yeah, not even that. But my understanding is it's not just Flag. It's a really deep draft, like, for first 5 or so, whatever it is. So,
I didn't know that.
I think they're protected like top 6 or so. Am I right on Philadelphia having a I think they have a pick, but it's possibly can go elsewhere. I'm not savvy as far as every single team what they have, but I think Philadelphia.
I thought you're a big draft guy, Dean. I thought you were up on all the young guys.
I could not name 2 college basketball players. One is Flag, and then I got nothing else.
Me too.
I could not name another college basketball player.
It's funny, when I was younger, I used to know all this stuff, and now I just don't care at all.
It's you can't focus on everything. Yeah, you just can't. I mean, you only have so much time, and it's not something practical for what I do, and I just not. Somebody might be like, "Well, I can't believe this person talks basketball for a living. They cannot name 2 college basketball players," which fine. I guess that's a fair criticism. But who's the second best player in college basketball? Chat, tell me. Who are we excited about as far as college basketball? I think there's other players out there that are lurking. There's probably some European players, I would imagine, that are also interesting, but I couldn't say. I have no clue. Chop will tell us when he jumps on here. He talks about his Houston Cougars.
Yeah, for sure. Chop's on the college stuff. So sure.
I was right about that, but Horace is saying Philadelphia is top 6 protected. Otherwise, it goes to OKC. So Philly is encouraged. They are very much encouraged to keep losing and try to get in that top 6. Ron Harper's kid, Ace Bailey. Okay, what a great name, Ace Bailey. That's an awesome name. I hope that person's good. Wow, Ron Harper's kid back in the day. Former Bull and Clipper. Maybe somebody else too. And a couple guys from Rutgers. Rutgers is a good basketball team? Did not know that. Good for the state of New Jersey and Tony Soprano. All right. Rutgers has 2 of the top 10 players in basketball. Was not aware. So anything big picture wise you want to talk about as far as the slate? You mentioned the Utah names. Oh, you also mentioned Jared Butler. He's only projected to play 8 minutes right now. But if we happen to lose Maxey, he would jump up to be a guy that would look like a really strong value play. I know even if then set up for that, we are projecting 25 minutes if Maxey's out, but 8 right now. So, I don't know what to. He's not. So I assume he's not somebody you're considering.
I should have prefaced it, but
yeah, that's the biggest piece of information we're waiting for. And I think that's a 7:00 game because there's 4 7:00 games, right? So more than half the slate starts right out the gate. You can backload if you want, but there's a lot of games that are early. So be aware of that. Any other news kind of trickling on through? Again, nothing really. I don't think there's anything we're waiting for that's huge outside of Maxey. Do you see anything else? I know Sarr is questionable, but I don't think that's a big deal.
I think it's mainly Maxey.
Jalen Clark is questionable for Minnesota, which I guess I don't know how much that would change things. Maybe not would look a little bit better, but he looks We're projecting we'll talk about Minnesota and OKC soon enough. Jaden McDaniels is going to play like 40 minutes again because that's just what he's been doing of late. Anything else you want to note before we, you like to kind of dance around? Hey, I'll pull this up. As far as ownership stuff, as of right now, you mentioned some names. We have 42% projected ownership for Filipowski on DK and 42% projected ownership for Sensabaugh. The 2 teammates here for Utah. They both can get there, and they both are just too cheap, considering Filipowski is center and center only. I know he's power forward also on FanDuel. I'm fairly certain of that. Let me just confirm. Power forward, center, 41%. Sensabaugh, almost 50% on FanDuel. Are we leaning in on that? Are we capping just going to play one of those 2? You still can play them both. Is that good chalk, bad chalk?
With that ownership that high, I'd probably make a stand on one of them. I think currently it's Sensabaugh for me that I have more interest in. It's $400 in savings. But yeah, maybe that's something you can group away from each other. I just think these Philly guys are going to pop early, and people are going to gravitate towards they're playing Chicago. I guess Utah has a pretty good matchup too with Portland. So Yeah, I just think the Philly guys are where I think that ownership's going to climb a little bit. Maybe I could be wrong though.
I want to say Portland's been better defensively of late. On the season, they're in the bottom third as far as defensive rating. But if you pull up like last 15 games or so, which by the way, last 15 games, I was looking at this today actually. You know who has the best defense in the last 15 games? Defensive rating? I'll tell you, unless you want to guess. Feel free to guess. Portland is 2. So I was right on that. Portland is 2. Second best defense. But 1 is a team that does not have a center. Not Dallas.
The Lakers.
The Lakers. Yeah. I don't know if that's going to hold or not, but I thought that's interesting. Of note, I suppose. But yeah, just kind of keep an eye on that one because a lot of people are expecting, myself included, that their defense is probably going to be pretty vulnerable going forward. The addition of Luka, the lack of a center, the lack of a rim protector. Yeah, the Utah thing is, you mentioned Philadelphia. It's just some weird plays, some weird players that Broccoli Boy says I listened to Simmons' podcast. I do listen to Simmons' podcast, but I don't remember. I know he talked about the Lakers, but I do enjoy Bill Simmons though. I like his movie podcast as well. They were watchables.
Maybe you should. Maybe I'm probably discrediting. Maybe I should be more interested in grouping, like maybe not making a rule with these Utah guys rather than Philly. I don't know. Philly's playing Chicago, right? So
yeah,
dream.
We'll get there.
Usage from Embiid. Yeah.
Sarr is out, by the way. Okay. How does that change things? Like Rashawn Holmes going to start? He's 5K. Probably Rashawn Holmes. Does that matter? He might project okay. But okay, we'll see how that works out. But that's a 7 o'clock game. We'll get the official starters. If we don't get them, crunch time, we'll get them. But yeah, take Sarr out of projections. We'll get an update in that momentarily, I imagine. I think one of my takes is like Paul George is kind of toast. So I don't want to play Paul George. I know projections like him. But he's one of my, in the survey, the expert survey, it's like, who's the player you're like most afraid of not playing? I think it's Paul George. I don't think I'm going to play him. I don't play a lot of lineups, but he's just been terrible. He's been dealing with that finger. I don't know if he's playing through it or not. It's just not good. And I understand the usage. I understand the matchup and all that. Now, if Maxey doesn't go, he's going to project incredibly. So I don't know, man. I don't know, but I just think he's kind of terrible. And I think
the higher stake stuff, the Utah guys, like you said, they're going to garner those 2 value pieces. Do you really want to have 2 of them in your lineup when they're going to be approaching? They'll probably be over. Probably take very heavy ownership between the 2. So
we'll get there. But what's interesting is they're down to 10. Utah's got 10 as far as I can tell. Collier, Sensabaugh, KJ Martin, Potter, Filipowski, George off the bench. When he comes in, he stays in. Johnny Jazang, Cody Williams, who's terrible, like just a horrible fantasy player. Jaden Springer, and then Svi Mikhailiuk. I mean, they have 112 total. I don't know if they get there, and they're all really cheap. Maybe KJ Martin, just like a pivot off. Of Filipowski.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind pivoting off. What I'm saying is like Sensabaugh and Filipowski, I would imagine are going to be very chalky in higher stake stuff. So making a rule, like you said, would make a good bit of sense, I think.
I was just sort of thinking out loud, but that's something I might do. We saw KJ Martin play 29 minutes the other night. He's an interesting play. I don't know. I don't know if I want to play all that chalk, but I imagine at least one gets there. Just because
one will get there, but
they kind of have to, I think. Anything else you want to say, big picture, before we dive in and do a little bit of game by game?
No, that's it. We can dive in.
I'm taking a peek at the live stream chat. Did anybody get the answer? It's not Nosferatu, according to D-Rock is guessing Interstellar. It's not Interstellar. It's not Ray. or Collateral. Great movie. Game Night, The Joker. A lot of guesses coming in. We'll go ahead and drop that second clue as we move on to the first game. Let's talk about Denver and Indiana first. 246 is the total. It's high and it's pretty tight. Denver is just a 5-point favorite here. You mentioned biggest total on the board. If you look at pace on the season, Denver and Indiana are both top 6. I believe they're 5 and 6. If we're going to be cheating, they're not top 5, but I think they're 5 and 6 as far as pace. The matchup, the environment looks spectacular. As far as who's in, as far as who's out, let's see. TJ McConnell's officially questionable. Necktie James Johnson's questionable. Doesn't really matter. As far as Denver, Gordon is probable with his calf. Jamal Murray is probable with his knee. Joker, I mentioned before. He's last I saw. Let's give it a refresh. Let's see how things have changed. Earlier in the day, he was like 12 or 13% projected owned, and it's just like that just seemed too low. He can beat the field by 15 points as far as raw points. We got him at about 16% on DK and about 13% on FanDuel. FanDuel, of course, one center only. It's a little bit tougher to spend all the way up for the Joker. But it seems like a bounce back spot, right? They were terrible last time out. He didn't take a lot of shots. I think it was just 2 for 7 against the Lakers. Still got a triple double because of course, but like 12, 13, 10 yawn. Didn't pay off his salary, was a massive bust at just 46 fantasy points. Just finding a way to get that salary. There's McConnell. McConnell ruled out as well. Who does that help? What's that, 20 minutes or so to be delegated? Do we care that McConnell is not playing? How many minutes do we have delegated? We have 16. Maybe Halliburton gets the next. He's got 33, but probably not going to get much more than that.
Maybe Nemhard.
Yeah. But does it move the needle enough for a Naismith or I don't know if it does. Yeah, Nemhard's already projected for 29, but maybe it raises the ceiling of Halliburton just a tick. You said something earlier, by the way, that I kind of latched onto. It's something I was talking about earlier today. It feels like a good day for game stacks. I know game stack is kind of like a general term, and to me, like just playing Joker and Halliburton's kind of a game stack, right? Yeah. You don't necessarily have to have 5 or 6 players, but I like the idea of, and we'll talk about it throughout, like if you're playing James Harden, maybe running it back with Cunningham, like that kind of thing. If you're playing Hero or Bam, running it back, with Trae Young, something like. I just feel like today's a good day to do that. What say you as far as Denver and the Pacers? How much are we prioritizing Joker and the biggest team total on the board in Denver?
Yeah, so Joker with coming off that loss for LA versus the Lakers. I just think, like you said, it's a good spot for Denver to get back on track. Jamal Murray played good in that game. He has point guard, shooting guard eligibility, but I feel like he'd fall behind Porter and Aaron Gordon for me, just because I think my favorite of the two main guys is Joker, and then Gordon and Michael Porter both have the same position eligibility pretty much as guys like Filipowski and Sensabaugh, who are going to be pretty chalky in that Utah game. So if you're trying to get off one, you can get to a play that's in a high total game like Denver and Indiana and should be very pace up. I just think this game's going to get underplayed relative to like ownership. So like the run backs you talked about with a guy like Halliburton, if Neesmith were to get a bump, I think he's fine on the Pacer side. And yeah, Siakam. I just think this game's interesting from like if we're going the game stack route, and I'm fine with playing multiples. I think
same.
I think you should be more. I think you should lean into multiples more when you're trying to game stack. I know you said like Joker and Halliburton's fine. I think that's cool, but leaning into the correlation, I don't think enough people do it in NBA. They're just basically running projections, so it might be just a way to differentiate yourself. Like my good teams on Friday night were pretty heavy Detroit stacks, I'm pretty sure. Just, yeah.
Jalen Duren. That's what it was.
And Duren, but I had like Tobias Harris too. Came in at like 2%. I had I had Osser in the same lineup. Like it's probably like negatively correlated, but no one was playing it. So
this stuff will get adjusted right as we close in on lock. But again, you talk about it. This game looks awesome as far as the environment. And ownership wise, we have Joker at 16%, Murray at 11, 12, Pascal at 10. This is DK for what it's worth. MPJ at 10%, Halliburton at 8. And then everybody else is just kind of getting 3 or 4 or 5 or 6. We had McConnell for 5%, and then those minutes are going to be shuffled around. And maybe some of the Pacers get bumped up a little bit, but nobody gets a dramatic bump. I agree. I think this game is, as of right now, getting neglected too much. The environment is really, really special. And Joker's got to kind of put up 75, 80, but I think he can. And if he puts up 70, 68, whatever, you're going to be fine. I was thinking about playing one of Joker or Murray in every lineup. Like if he doesn't do it, maybe Murray does it. Again, I don't make a lot. If I was running 150, I wouldn't have that rule. But if I'm making like 4 lineups, maybe 2 and 2, something like that.
But if you're getting off George, like who does well if George doesn't have a good game? It's Maxey.
Yeah. Grimes.
Oubre, who I think that game environment for a guy like Oubre is very strong. I think he has shooting guard eligibility. So yeah, I don't know. Like that's why Murray kind of falls behind, and it's more like play Porter and Murray for me. I didn't mean to cut you off, blender style there.
No, you're good. Anything else as far as Denver and the Pacers?
Denver and the Pacers. Someone said Oubre ? In chat. Did Oubre get ruled out for the Sixers?
No. They were answering your question. You said who would step up if Paul George is out?
Yeah.
And they were just answering the question, which we got to, but there's a slight delay. But yeah, we'll talk about Philly soon enough. Anything else of notes, or shall we talk about I think we got our projections updated here with Brooklyn and Washington. Let's move on and talk about that. 217 is a total, pretty paltry. We just got Sarr ruled out. We are now projecting Rashawn Holmes to draw the starts. How many minutes we given him? Let's see. Let's give it a refresh on the old lineup HQ. Again, Washington is a 3-point dog here versus Brooklyn. Who's in, who's out? We'll take a peek at the injury report on this one, get some clarity. We just got Sarr ruled out. Of course, Brogdon's out. Sadiq Bey not playing basketball. For Brooklyn, D'Angelo Russell, he's not playing. No Cam Thomas, no Whitehead, no Melton. Tosan's out and Clowney's out. Claxton is available. He's got a nasal fracture, but he's going to give it a go. Are they on the back half? I don't think so, right? Yeah, neither one of these teams are on the back half of the front half. The only team in the front half, for what it's worth as far as back-to-backs, is Charlotte. So no teams on the DraftKings slate on the front half of a back-to-back. I'm giving a refresh, seeing what our projection team is doing for Holmes. We're giving him 28. He projects okay. What's the split? 28 and 18 for Vucevic. Okay. He's 3.9. Holmes is 4.9, though. It's like not that we haven't had a long enough period for his price to plummet. So, okay. Brooklyn, Washington. We love picking on Washington, obviously. Brooklyn, just weird rotations. I think they're kind of at the point where they've been winning too much, right? They won 7 of their last 10. They've fallen back or fallen forward, depending how you look at it. They actually have a better record than Philly. They're currently in the 7 spot in the old Tankathon, but they're just never going to get in the top 3. That's just not going to happen. They've won too much. How do we feel about Brooklyn and Washington?
Yeah, Claxton and Cam Johnson are probably the 2 strongest plays for me on the Brooklyn side. Washington now, I guess you could consider Rashawn Holmes, but really not considering much on Washington. The spot for Cameron Johnson's pretty good, especially from like a 3-point perspective versus Washington. Claxton inside, you can attack Washington on the inside. So those are the 2 plays that I have, I think, the most interest in. And then like you said, with Holmes out, I don't know. Holmes is fine. I haven't really rerun stuff, so I feel like he'll be in my pool, but I don't really have a major stance versus the Nets. I think I like other centers probably more currently.
He's 4.9 on DK. We're projecting 28 minutes and 28 fantasy points as a median projection. So 28 points, the median projection at 4.9 is pretty decent, but opportunity cost. It's still Rashawn Holmes. Like he's going to be okay. I don't know if he's going to be hitting stuff. Possibly. Maybe he'll hit some lineups, but I don't know if he's anybody I'm necessarily going out of my way to grab. But it's not a terrible play.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Fontecchio ruled out with his finger. How many minutes do we have Fontecchio for? Let's see if that changes anything. Only 11 minutes. That might. I'm trying to think who that would potentially. Maybe Beasley gets an extra couple minutes or so. We're giving him 26. Yeah, it might help Beasley out a little bit, but not a lot of minutes. That's going to necessarily change. Maybe Asar gets a couple extra, but nothing dramatic. But projection team on top of that as well. I don't really love this Brooklyn game so much. Washington side, kind of an X out for me. I can play Holmes, I guess, but I'm almost definitely not going to. Brooklyn, we do. Oh, some of the fringe guys on Brooklyn, like Sharp, who's a really good fantasy appointment player, just does not get a lot of run. He gets fouls sometimes. I think Watford's another one that could be pretty interesting. And if this game gets ugly, I shouldn't even say that, but it's only a 3 or 4 point line, so it probably shouldn't get ugly. If you think it's going to get ugly, just take all your money and bet Brooklyn and just double up. There you go. But they only have 11. They only have 11, right? Watford, Wilson, Sharp, Martin, Beekman, and Maxwell Lewis. Williams is fine. What do you got?
You were about to say it, but Zaire Williams at 5K, shooting guard, small forward eligibility. I like the Watford call too. Kirky tagged him, so
Kirky's on him. There you go.
Yeah.
Kirkwood will be on. We'll talk about that amongst other things in about 50 minutes or so, maybe 55 minutes. Actually, no, my math is bad. 45 minutes when crunch time comes on. He's 4.7 on DK, and one of the keys is power forward / center eligibility. A little bit less than a fantasy point per minute on the season. But again, you got a grade in the curve. You get a bit of a boost there taking on Washington. And I guess he probably closes if this game gets goofy. Because, again, they only have 6 guys on the bench, as far as I can tell, so he'll be one of them. And Zaire's fine. Zaire's fine. Keon Johnson's he's fine. Killian Hayes was okay. Nothing special. But, he wasn't scoring or anything. He kind of mostly closed. He played 27 minutes last game. The former Piston. The shooting hasn't quite been there. But, I don't know what the upside is 4-1, but I just love the matchup against Washington. All these guys are in the pool to various degrees, but I don't think there's anybody I necessarily have to have, if that makes sense.
Yep, I'm with you.
We have a winner, by the way, for Movie Monday, so shout out to Philly Laker. We'll go ahead and play up the string for funsies, but let's go ahead and drop that third clue. But yeah, just 2 clues, all it took for Philly Laker to win today's Movie Monday. The third clue will be dropping and scrolling momentarily. If you guys are just hanging out in the YouTube, I know some people like to just play on YouTube. There's no reward for it, but you can play. Security is the third clue for Movie Monday. Security, clue, and press. Okay, let's talk about the Bulls and the Sixers. 234 is the total. Sixers are actually favored here by 4. We know Embiid is out. We don't know about Maxey. As of right now, we're currently assuming Maxey is in. As far as other pieces for Philly, Justin Edwards is out. Paul George is officially available with his finger with a splint. Eric Gordon not available with his wrist. Kyle Lowry's out with his hip. McCain, of course, done for the year. As far as the Bulls, there's no Ayo. I would assume who's out. Jalen Smith, he's still out with that concussion. Vukovic officially probable with his calf. And Kobe White also probable with his he's got an ankle. Patrick Williams also out. Yeah. So the Sixers were expecting Maxey, Grimes, Oubre, Paul George, and Gershon Yabusele to draw the start there for Philly. Good matchup, obviously, against Chicago. Where do you want to start? Because I don't want to play Paul George, and I think he's going to project well, and obviously would project even better if we lose Maxey. I think Maxey plays, but I don't know.
I can give you a percentage on Maxey's.
Oh, you got it. Okay, what do you got? What's your percent?
Let me check real quick here.
You have an algorithm, or you're just like doing the bit? I think you're just doing the bit, but I don't
know. No, I have something.
I
don't have something actually. I don't know why. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I can't give it to you right now.
Oh,
I'll think about it.
All that build up for nothing.
Yeah.
I could have just asked Mr. Predicto, and we could have saved some time.
Can we ask Mr. Predicto if he plays or he doesn't play?
Yeah. Will Tyrese Maxey play basketball this evening? Let's see. He's got to takes him a second to fire up. Hold on.
Everything points to no.
Oh. Well, so much for that. Okay. Mr. Predicto's been off, though. Like 60% of the time, he's right not even 60% of the time. But according to Mr. Predicto, no. But that would surprise me. I don't know if I trust the sources. In any event, let's work on the assumption that Maxey is playing. Do we like Maxey better than Harden? I think that's a good question.
I do not. I do not like Maxey better than Harden, but I think I like them both. I like Maxey if you're getting away from Paul George. I like Oubre if you're getting away from Paul George. I think Yabu is a good play. Those would be, and then followed by Grimes. That's kind of how I would rank them. Yeah, Maxey for me. Like if you just if he's in, just a really good spot versus the Bulls. Struggle defending the three, struggle versus point guards. Like it's a great spot for Maxey. DVP wise for Harden, it's tougher, but you're removing Kawhi and Powell and all those guys. So even with a guy like Thompson on him, it makes it's still like a ton of usage for Harden, who's obviously going to handle the ball a lot anyways. Maxey and Harden are probably two of my favorite plays on the slate, so it's tough for me to pick two of them.
Yeah, so that is the tricky thing with Harden, right? Because, and we'll get there, but just we'll clean it up. But the absence of Kawhi, the absence of Powell, he gets a 7.7% boost as far as usage, 37.89% usage, 1.41 FanDuel fantasy points per minute, 1.47 DK. But All-Star Thompson will probably be on him. Now they're switching and all that kind of stuff. It's kind of a push-pull, but I think if nothing else, he's a really good cash play, but I don't know what to do in tournaments. They're also on the back half of a back-to-back as well, and Detroit has been playing great defense too. So you can make arguments both ways as far as Harden. But let's jump back to Philly and the Bulls. You mentioned Grimes like third amongst the players. I thought that was a little bit surprising.
I should like Grimes more, you're saying?
I think so. Well, the field is.
Right.
He's the second most popular. Oubre's number one. He's 5.5 on DK. His projection looks really strong, 32 points in a 37-minute projection. Again, you mentioned the matchup against the Bulls. Good for pretty much everybody. No rim protection, no rebounding. It's just overall one of the worst defenses in all of basketball. They play at a fast pace as well. Well, let's see. Let's confirm. Yeah, third fastest pace in basketball. So I'm probably going to have somebody on Philly in basically every lineup, I would imagine, possibly more than one. The one who's getting ignored is Yabusele, and maybe that shouldn't be the case. He's at 7% as of right now. He's the fifth most popular player for Philadelphia. We got Oubre, Grimes, Maxey, George all ahead. George projects well because he's got a good history of playing basketball. It's just I just don't know if projections are fully capturing how terrible he is right now. But that's me just saying I know better, and maybe I don't. But this does seem like a spot where theoretically he could bounce back, but he's just not been that guy this year. 25% usage in the season, 1.09 fantasy points per minute. That's well below his career average. I don't know what it is, but I know he averaged more than 1.09 in his career. And then Chicago. I guess Giddey is probably the best option for Chicago. No Dasumu, we've seen him. He has those games, man, when he fills that box score up. Lonzo's coming in 18%. I don't know how I feel about that. I know the shots have been off. What if they start falling? Kevin Herter was a guy that looked kind of sort of somewhat interesting earlier in the day. I don't know if we need him anymore, but if you're running 150, I think he's somebody that's in your pool. He did play like close to 30 minutes last game, if not 30 minutes last game. He's projected for 24. He's also another guy who's been certifiably terrible this year. He was drawing some DNP CDs before he got shipped out of Sacramento. Vuk's not going to really get played. Like, you can always play Vuk. The tricky thing with him is, like, he doesn't really have – I shouldn't say that. I was going to say he doesn't really have, like, monster ceiling games. He's super consistent, but I don't know if he ever, like, breaks slates. Your thoughts as far as the Bulls?
Yeah, Giddey and Herter would be my two favorite from the Bulls. Herter is just a pricing play. Giddey's going to do a lot of everything. So at that price tag, I think he's fine. Outside of that, really not much. Still kind of thinking over like the 76ers. I think Oubre, just with the pace of this game, is my favorite play. We can play Oubre at shooting guard too, so that's knocking down Grimes for me. And then I have more Yabusele currently, probably than just a little bit more than the field, I guess.
I like that as an overcall. I think that's a good call.
Yeah. I think I'm getting him around 28%. What are we showing him at?
Yabusele?
Yeah.
I think at like 5 or 10. We're pretty low on it. I was surprised.
Yeah, Yabu's the one that
7%.
I'm taking the stand on more than Grimes, because Grimes you're paying 5.6 and Yabu you're paying 4.9, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's a position conversation that sort of is the reason why those the ownerships are what they are. Yeah. But yeah, Maxi 21% for what it's worth. I see Eric in chat saying that Vuk is not going to play today. He is officially probable for what it's worth. He is on the injury report, but on the injury report as being probable. So they're also down their backup center as well. So if he doesn't go, who would step? Oh, Zach Collins. That'd be the guy. Zach Collins would have a monster game probably. Yeah. He's down to 3-3. But I assume, and if we don't have to speculate because this is a 7 o'clock game, we'll know this by 6:30. What was starting lineup, and Vuk tends to play. But we'll see.
I have Maxi at 55% to play, Dean.
Oh, 55%. Despite the fact that Mr. Predicto said he's not playing. Yeah, fair enough.
Yep.
Anything else here, or shall we scoot along?
We can scoot along.
The last of the 7 o'clock games, that is the Clippers, the Pistons. 221 is the total. Pistons are 2-point favorites here. Back half of a back-to-back for both of these teams. Who's in, who's out? We just talked about it for the Clippers. Definitely missing some key pieces. No Kawhi, no Powell. Otherwise, Ben Simmons also not playing for them. As far as Detroit, there's no Fontecchio. Otherwise, their rotations, their guys have basically been the same. We haven't seen Jaden Ivey in a long time. Fontecchio is out. So, yeah, James Harden, we talked about before, the usage bump, pretty massive, tough matchup individually against All-Star Thompson, and just Detroit is on the whole. They've been good defensively. On the season, Clippers, third best defense. Detroit, 12th on the season. If you look at the last 15 games, I think both these teams are pretty strong last 15 games. Clippers 14, Detroit 8. Okay, so not as strong. But, we have no Kawhi. We have no Powell. Certainly changes some things up. I wonder if we got anything dramatically different when we took Fontecchio out. Probably not. Has he officially been removed? He has. Let's give it a refresh. Your thoughts? Clippers, Detroit, and Harden going to be pretty popular.
Yeah, I like Harden. He's easily my favorite play. Basically talked about it. You're removing Kawhi, Powell. He's going to get Thompson defense, which is difficult, but still going to get a ton of usage. So I think he's a really good play. There's not really much outside of that I have much interest in, even with those guys out. Like, I just assume Harden to really take over and get all the usage. And I guess some Zubac will be involved.
Yeah.
Maybe Chris Dunn a little bit. But Harden stands out to me. On the Detroit side, I'm not getting a ton of Detroit. I don't know. I know Cade's your guy. Cade went off last night. Cade was on all three. Yeah, he looked phenomenal. But currently not getting a ton of Detroit. Maybe that's a bad thing, but I'm not seeing like a ton of ownership on Detroit either. Like, or what do we have Cade for currently? Like, not.
He's not owned at all, basically.
He's not owned at all.
3 or 4%. Yeah. Which, I mean, we saw he had a monster game yesterday. He has that ability. He can, double with assists. It hit a bunch of threes. The minutes have been really phenomenal this season as well. And it's just interesting he's not being played. But I kind of get it because, Maxey and Harden are similar priced and just project better.
Yeah.
The entire Detroit team, Duren, I think this is the highest he's been all season long at 6'9", right? I feel like that's the highest he's been all season long as far as asking price.
Terrible game last night too, right? I would imagine he didn't really get there.
Well, I mean, he's really volatile, right?
Yeah.
Which I think you kind of like for tournaments. He was not terrible. He put up 29, not good, not usable. But he put up 52 against the Spurs, put up 49 against the Bulls. He tends to get in foul trouble sometimes. He's sort of slow coming on this year, but he's definitely been playing better of late. Zubac, not a great matchup individually either. Maybe All-Stars in the court a little bit more as far as minutes. We're giving him 25. Maybe he gets a couple extra. They're going to need him for Harden, obviously. You can't match him minute for minute. But it is interesting that all the Pistons, as of right now, none of them are getting an ownership projection. I'm sorry, above 5%.
I really have no Pistons currently.
I might make a Harden Cunningham lineup just for funsies.
I think it makes sense from a tournament perspective, like you said.
And right now, 25% for Harden, 17% for Zubac, and 13% for Dunn, and that's it. I don't have any interest in Bogdanović. Amir Coffey probably doesn't kill you, but is probably not going to make you either. Like you said, I don't really have any interest in much beyond that. We can move on and talk about the Heat and the Hawks. Killian Hayes, by the way, officially going to stick in that starting lineup per Coach Fernandez. Get excited. We'll scroll that fourth clue as well. We'll talk about it again. We already got a winner for Movie Monday, but feel free to scroll it and play along with the home version. Bobby, you're going to take this down. I feel like you're going to get to it.
I haven't even looked at it. Trying to concentrate, Dean.
You know what? That's probably for the better. Let's keep you on task. I don't want to overwhelm you and throw you off, but somebody, maybe those on YouTube have not quite looked over in the Discord just yet. Might having some fun with it. By the way, if you're in YouTube or if you're anywhere watching the show, hit that like button. I was just told the likes are down. That's depressing. Hit the like button and subscribe. And turn on those notifications so you know when we go live. The Heat, my Miami Heat are in Atlanta. 231 is the total. Atlanta is a slight favorite, about a 1.5 point favorite, depending on where you're shopping. Who is in, who is out for this one? Well, Tyler Hero officially good to go with his shoulder. He's probable. Khalil Ware also probable with his ankle. Atlanta, Krejci is out. Nance is out. Trae Young officially good to go. They said he's available with his Achilles. And that's that. Expectations as far as these players landing in your lineups, the Heat and the Hawks. Hero's been awesome of late. Just the price it's up there. It's a good matchup for Bam as well. I think Bam's one of my favorite players on Miami. Well, I know it on Miami specifically. Hero and Bam both look pretty good, and this is the same deal. If I roster one of those two, I will be more apt to run it back with somebody like Trae Young. How do you feel about Miami and the Hawks?
Pace up spot for Miami versus the Hawks. I like Hero a really good bit. I like Bam. I'm currently not getting them, but I feel like when I bump them for positional stuff because of, I don't know, DVP and stuff, they should hit my teams. Just the fact that the Hawks aren't going to, I think Bam actually has a better matchup than Hero. There's no one that's going to be able to guard Bam on the Hawks. And then Hero's usage has just been incredible. And they're struggling versus a guy like Hero, or like a guard or against guard. So I'm fine with getting to both of those guys. On the Hawks side, Trae Young, played him last night with Cade and still didn't cash because I didn't have any Ty Jerome on my team, which was irritating.
I didn't play yesterday. Was that somebody you needed? Ty Jerome, was he popular?
He got 40, so
yeah,
you kind of wanted him. Yeah, Miami struggling versus the 3. Like a guy like Trae Young, I think is fine. I hate rostering Trae Young, but I'm fine if he hits my teams tonight. Yeah, that's pretty much all I got from this game. I don't know if you have more stuff you want to hit on.
I don't really like the fringe players a heck of a lot. We did see a good Ricochet game the other day. Good for him. I think he had a pretty good price on Dyson Daniels down to 6.9. I'm fine with that on DK. We're seeing a lot of ownership. 23% ownership for Hero at 8.5. But again, you mentioned the usage of late. He's had some really big games. Last time out, almost 39% usage, 25% the game before at 40. The game previous, he's just really taking a ton of shots these days for Miami. 27, 18, and 30 the last 3 games. The absence of Butler, again, the price is bumped up, but good pace matchup for Hero and certainly could pay that salary off. And I do like the idea. I was thinking about playing them both together, and I guess they both can kind of be optimal, I guess, maybe. But probably that would be a game where I would run it back with either like a Young or a Daniels. But I think go ahead.
An interesting differentiator in tournaments is Andrew Wiggins. I know he's kind of priced up at 6.5, but
yeah,
if you wanted to go there, I think it's fine.
Yeah, he's been getting a lot of minutes.
We have him for 34 minutes. That's pretty significant. So
39-42 last 2 games. Yeah. They traded for him and they're using him.
He still is Andrew Wiggins, though.
Which is like, he's fine. He's not really special, but he's fine. He's better than what they had. But I guess that's not saying a heck of a lot.
Well, he's not better than Jimmy Butler, but it's better that he's
no.
Right.
He's definitely not better than Jimmy Butler.
But a Jimmy Butler that's not playing, he's better.
He's better than a Jimmy Butler that's not playing. He's better than just selling his coffee. Butto is asking about any Yang love. I don't think so.
He's been good for the Hawks, man. I don't know. I currently don't have any. It's Miami. I know Niang currently.
Yeah, we've seen like LeVert have a game here and there. We've seen Yang be all right. I don't really know how to project which one of those. They're if they're in your pool, so be it. I wouldn't scratch them off. Yang, for what it's worth, getting 5% ownership as of right now. We're giving him 27 minutes.
It would be very tough for me to go back to LeVert because he was the guy I had instead of Ty Jerome last night. So,
I mean, LeVert is another one of those guys that's just like he can be terrible, he can be really good, right? Like he probably played the worst game of his life the day it was like incredible chalk. Remember that when he was like 0 for 7, 0 for 8, and he was traded the next day? We got to trade for that guy, and look how terrible he is. But his last game ever for Cleveland was horrendous. But then he has those games where he just, does everything. Just really, really sporadic and hard to predict. Minnesota and OKC, 8 o'clock. 229 is the total. We're running it back, the game from yesterday. Some of the pieces are changing a little bit. Back half of a back-to-back, so we got to rest some dudes. Who's in, who's out. Well, Dante DiVincenzo, of course, he's not playing. No Julius Randle, but Gobert. Gobert's got it back, so he's not going to play. OKC counters Chet Holmgren. Back half of a back-to-back. Also OKC, this will probably happen more as we close in the end of the season. They're kind of coasting, right? At some point, we're going to get a little more resting stuff. Aren't they like 4 or 5 or 6 games up in the West? It's more of a conversation for later on in the season. But I think we're going to start getting some SGA rest spots. We should. We'll see. But tonight, that's not happening. SGA is good. Going to be playing some basketball. No AJ Mitchell as well, as far as the Thunder, as far as what's left standing with the Thunder and Minnesota. How do we feel about the big spends here? Speaking of guys that aren't going to get played, SGA. not really going to get played. 2%. Ant is getting around 10. You know, your thoughts?
I would much rather play Edwards at 9.3 than SGA at 10.7.
Yeah, and same with the field.
Yep, same with the field. I don't really love either. The field doesn't really love this game at all as well. You talked about Jaden McDaniels with the minutes, 36. We have him for currently. I don't hate that. Maybe some nod 5-1. Really not much in this game that I like. You feeling differently?
McDaniels, 40 minutes, 42, 37, 39, his last 4. And he's scoring. Like, he's taking shots. 15 shots, 15 shots, 18 shots. And that's, like, not what he's been. He's been shooting more of late. It's weird to see him at 6'6" and being like, yeah, I get it. And that's not this guy used to be in the 4s and the 5s. And it's going to adjust, you know, I imagine when Randall comes back and DiVincenzo comes back and his minutes are not outrageous, but this is where they're at right now. I just don't really love, you know, picking on OKC, best defense in basketball. No Chet makes him a little bit weaker. And that's the thing with Edwards, just the wing defenders for the Thunder. You know, Dorcher Chamber, amongst others.
They're like a generational defense right now, correct?
It's like the 2002 Baltimore Ravens, right?
Yeah.
They're very good. They're very, like, we haven't seen a lot of Hartenstein playing alongside Holmgren, or just them both being available in the same game. And again, the wing stuff, the wing defenders they have. I mean, this is their offense is obviously really, really good, but one of the reasons why they're arguably the best team in basketball is because their defense is spectacular on the season. What's their gap? 104.8 is their defensive rating, right? Their 104.8 is their defensive rating. The second best team, the Magic, is 108.3. So they're 3.5 points higher than the second best team. And to put that in perspective, like Minnesota's 110.7 and they're 6th. And what's the gap? What's 3.5 from there? Brooklyn at 21. So that just like defines how big that gap is. From 1 to 2 is the same gap as 6 to 22. Their defense is awesome.
I was watching this YouTube video, so take it with a grain of salt, but they were saying that this OKC defense is the best we've seen in the NBA to this date.
And I love the well, they don't play defense anymore in the NBA. I love that.
Yeah, I love they don't play defense anymore.
Yeah. And the other part that, like, it's not to get in the whole weeds and like to sidetrack the shot, but like the other thing that nobody notes as far as defense is players are playing like they're moving like with the advanced technology. They get the stats on this. They're running around like 2 or 3 times more than they were in years past with all the switching and the spacing. So they're moving 2 or 3 times more than they were 20 years ago. So, I mean, just to kind of,
I had this argument with like family members a week ago. And it's just like it's such a difficult argument because they're just so stuck in the nostalgia, like the 80s and the 90s. And
you can't, nostalgia's undefeated. It's like arguing like anybody better than Michael Jordan. Well, this was the greatest player I ever saw when I was 10 years old, and there's no way he could be replaced. That's it.
When he was playing against like lawyers, guys that would be lawyers or doctors in today's NBA, they just wouldn't even be in the league.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to beat nostalgia, man. Nostalgia's the people have not seen Michael Jordan miss a shot.
Like, LeBron James has 60 pounds on Bill Laimbeer and is pretty much the same height.
And it's muscle. I mean, yeah,
it's muscle too. Yeah. My uncle was like, Bill Laimbeer would put LeBron James on his butt, and I'm like,
Bill Laimbeer, get out! Bill Laimbeer would not even be close to the 15. He would barely be in a G League team.
Yeah, he wouldn't. Yeah, he wouldn't be near the league. Exactly.
He was kind of that rare like big man who could actually hit he was capable of hitting threes, but like he wasn't like great at it, and he would be horrendous when compared to the league today. But,
imagine if they're tracking you and like this is your job and you can't be lazy at all because they just know if you're lazy or not on defense, or all the switching and everything that's going on in today's NBA. Like you talked about, it's probably like such a grind. So I kind of get why players take days off now more than ever, but I also hate it at the same time.
Yeah. I get them. But again, they're working 2 or 3 times harder than they were. Like the math says it. Like there's no arguing against the math. But your memory, it's like the Showtime Lakers. Guess what? The Showtime Lakers weren't as fast as you think they were. They weren't. They were not nearly as fast as the label suggests. Okay, let's move on. We talked about we got one game left as far as the DK slate. Charlotte, Sacramento as well. Portland. This is a full hour. It's an hour after Minnesota and the Thunder. Portland and the Jazz to pull up the tankathon again. By the way, Jazz are in third. Portland, they won too much. They won 6 of their last 10. They're in the 9 spot, and they're kind of in this sort of. I mean, they're still jockeying for position, but basically they have no chance to fall unless they get lucky. They're not going to fall into the bottom 3 as far as positioning yourself best. 14% chance they'll get the rights to Cooper Flag. Okay, who's in? Who's out? Let's talk about it. Clarkson is out. Collins is out. Kessler is out. Markkanen's out. Sexton's out. Basically everybody that would be a starter. I think they're down to 10 in Utah. Portland, DeAndre Ayton probably going to miss the season. We haven't had that officially being said just yet, but Robert Williams also is out. We have not seen like a dramatic minutes bump for Klingon. Just some weird things happening there. There's been some blowout stuff too, but we saw another game where Williams closed or played more, not necessarily closed. Walker's got a chance to escalate, but Klingon's minutes been kind of disappointing. But I think there's a chance he plays close to 30. But, and I thought there was a coach quote basically suggesting like that's the way it's going to be going forward, and it wasn't or hasn't been. We're giving him 24, and he's down to 5.5. I think Klingon's a really interesting tournament play because, again, this defense is really going to miss Walker, Kessler, Filipowski, severely under, speaking of size and girth and all the length and all that stuff, Klingon can certainly body Filipowski around a good bit. I don't know I'm curious if you got any because he's just not owned. And, I think there's a chance he can get more than 24 minutes.
Klingon, I'm going to get just because, like you said, Kessler out. And there isn't really anyone that can kind of deal with him. It's a good DVP matchup, also good pace. I just like Klingon a good bit. In terms of where I'm at in the field currently, I haven't increased it yet, so currently not getting any, but I'm going to push it just because of the matchup. The guys that are mainly standing out for me on the Portland side, well, one guy in particular is Denny Avdija. Why are you laughing?
I thought you were pulling a chop there. The pronunciation. I'm not the pronunciation. I don't
Did I not pronounce it correctly?
Denny Avdija or Avdija.
Avdija. Yeah. I'm gonna get killed in the comments.
I feel like I heard chop. Yeah, the chat's gonna have a good time. They're already killing us for daring to suggest that maybe Michael Jordan is not the greatest basketball player of all time, but you can't suggest that. But now they're gonna pivot and make fun of
It's good we got them to pivot because that's a losing argument either way for us, even if it's correct. Yeah.
Not enough people have discussed it though. I think there's been more conversation.
It needs to be more, yeah, for sure.
We got to get an official answer. But yeah, I like Avdija as well. Ownership wise, we're seeing him come at 22%. We mentioned before, probably good to see. I guess good to see. We talked about those the numbers on Sensabaugh and Filipowski earlier. They went down a little bit. So 36% now to Sensabaugh. Filipowski 34. They were close to 45, 50.
I felt like they were going to go down for what it's worth.
Yeah. The Jeremy Grant one, man, he's another guy who just kind of stinks. And 20%, he's another guy. I just don't want to play Jeremy Grant, I don't think.
I'm getting 4% of Jeremy Grant, 2% of Klingon. That has to change. I have to get more Klingon. Simons, what about are we getting 22% Simons, which I don't hate.
It's about double the field.
Yeah.
What about are you getting KJ Martin? Because I think he's what's interesting is this game again, last game on the slate, an hour after everything else, last game on the DK slate. KJ Martin is like the 7th or 8th most popular player in this game, but still coming in at 11%. And I know some people put, limits if you're running stuff like max 2, max 3. I don't know how much KJ Martin people are going to get, is the point I'm going to making. And I think he's an interesting pivot. We're giving him 27 minutes. I think there's a chance he plays more than that. It's just tough.
He played 29 versus Houston.
Yeah. And again, they're down to 10. Newly acquired.
9 or 10?
I see 10.
10. Okay.
Yeah. George, Jazang, Williams, Springer, Svee off the bench. Collier, Sensabaugh, Martin, Potter, and Filipowski. That is our presumed starters. Yeah, and I don't think that's going to – nobody's questionable, so I think it's going to hold a 10 unless something changes. At least that's one good thing. We have some clarity. Barring goofiness, we know at least who's playing with Portland and Utah, which is nice. But I guess I'm just making the point that he might be less, Martin, and he's not worse than these players, is he? I don't think he's much worse. He's also, actually a professional basketball player.
You're getting well, it's Houston, so I mean, it's not Houston. Sorry, it's Utah. They're not really a professional basketball team. He's a fringe professional basketball. At 3.9, like the discount, I think he's perfectly fine to mix in, especially if you make a rule with Sensabaugh and Filipowski that you just want max one. Svee is a guy that I'm getting a good bit of at 4K. How do you feel about Svee? Because I'm a little.
I would be very cautious if he's not starting.
Yeah,
and I don't think he's starting. So again, I don't know. He started a fair bit. We're projecting him not to start. We're giving. If he's not starting, I don't think I'm playing him. I don't expect him to start. So I'm kind of out. Like he's fine. I prefer KJ Martin. I would just say that. As far in the F spot, Svee is shooting guard, small forward. I know he's got some versatility to him. They know what Svee is, and maybe they're. I don't know how interested they are in developing stuff and developing players. Who the heck knows? But what do we get? We got news. What was the air horn for? Maxey officially in. Okay. Murray in, Kalel Ware as expected playing, Hero playing, Aaron Gordon playing. Okay. And Maxey's got his finger and he is good to go, which, yeah. So could rank these three for me. Maxey, James Harden, and who was the third one? Oh, you said those are two of your favorite, right?
It would be Maxey and Harden. Who's the next one?
I was gonna add a third one, but I think those are the two I was thinking about. But who else would join that conversation as far as like point guards?
Harry's Halliburton would be third for me.
Yeah, everybody else is going to be behind, right?
I think Simon's really isn't. He's not in that pricing tier.
Like Cunningham, I like, but for tournaments only, like with pairing with Harden, basically. Edwards and SGA are both going to not get played a ton.
I don't have any interest because we kind of talked about like Edwards would be my favorite. Otherwise, I think that for SGA, like I think the game, I don't know. Edwards, it's just a tough defensive matchup. SGA, I don't love at that price. I'd rather get up to Joker if I could. So those guards aren't really in the conversation. I think the best case you made was Cunningham as a run back to Harden in tournaments.
Steve is telling us that Team Wolf is better than LeBron. Team Wolf was pretty good, but he was playing against high schoolers. We never saw Team Wolf even in college, and it was a small sample size as well as far as Team Wolf. Hero being mentioned in chat. Jeffrey's mentioning Jalen Brunson. I don't know what slate he's on. He's a good basketball player, but he's not on this slate. This is DFS. We care about tonight and tonight only. Team Wolf better than Air Bud. Well, I mean, depending on the sport, Air Bud was in seventh inning fetch. Air Bud was spectacular at baseball. We've never seen Team Wolf play baseball. Of course,
you did not see seventh inning fetch.
No, but I saw the cover. I remember the title. I just love the puns.
I don't even remember the title. I didn't know that was a movie.
I believe Air Bud, the volleyball one. I think it's called Golden Spike. I want to say. I believe it's a pun on. And I think is Air Bud a golden retriever? I don't know what his brand is, but
I see the football one for sure. Yeah.
What's the football one called?
I think it's like the first one.
No, but like it's got like a clever
It's
name.
just called Airbud.
It's no. Airbud he originally started from basketball. That was
I seen the basketball one. Yeah.
And the other coach lost his mind when you started playing. Like, what do you mean you're gonna play Airbud? And it's like there's nothing. The guy pulled out the rule book. It's like there's nowhere in the rule book does it say you can't play a dog. And like, well, I guess he's gonna play. World Pup is the soccer one. Yes, thank you, CC King in chat, which is just brilliant. I don't know what position Airbud played in soccer, but all right. We're getting fully derailed, but
I have one more
Okay.
on the Utah. Collier or Keontae George? Keontae George has been very good. Collier's kind of priced up.
I think George is better.
Yeah.
But what is, and as far as fantasy points per minute in the season, Keontae George 1.04, Collier at 0.89. You know, George doesn't start, but when he jumps in, he's in. He stays in for the entire game, and he'll play 30 minutes off the bench. Like them both. Do you have any sort of rules as far as no more than 2, no more than 3? How many Jasmine are we allowed to play in a lineup?
I think it's more just Filipowski, and I haven't created any rules, but just doing something with Filipowski and Sensabaugh, I think's the best way to go about it. Just because they're two very highly owned Jazz players that are going to hit a lot of your lineups. And one of them is likely not going to get there, in my opinion.
Roth jumped in. He's hanging out in the bullpen. Going to be on momentarily with crunch time. Kirkwood, Kirkdiese, leader of the Juggalos, Juggalo Nation, Kid Yahoo, Tasteful Tides, Tim. They're all coming in a few minutes for crunch time. Going to take you all home. But Roth was reminding us, yes, thank you for that, Roth. Airbud Golden Receiver was the Airbud. He was a wide receiver. Spectacular. I don't know how he is at blocking, but those movies are so absurd. But they're fun, I suppose. You got to get the kid on the Airbud run one of these days, I suppose. But
we've been watching a ton of good movies.
Yeah,
we watch all 90s movies. He's big into Home Alone.
Okay.
Wet
Bandits.
What else we watch? He's obsessed with like Grease for some reason, which I don't know.
That's 70s, I believe. Grease came out in the late 70s.
Yeah.
Yeah, Grease 2, maybe early 80s. Which I think is
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the 90s versions. Yeah.
Oh yeah, there you go. Secret of the Ooze. The Vanilla Ice. Did you watch the Vanilla Ice one?
Yeah, we watched all 3.
Yeah. Pretty sure that was terrible. And I thought that as a kid too. So I don't know if they held up. Have they aged well or?
I think they're good. I just I'll watch whatever. I like 90. There's just better comedy,
Yeah, well, I mean, probably not from Ninja Turtles or other movies, but yeah, I hear what you're saying.
I'm just saying they say that like they the stuff they say in some of those movies they wouldn't allow them to say in kids' movies today.
Got a double entendres and things like that.
Yeah.
Speaking of movies, by the way, we did have a winner earlier is for Movie Monday. We'll go ahead and explain it for the people. Shout out to Philly Laker, won a week free of RG Premium. The clues have been scrolling this entire time. Dark, Press, Security, Accident, and Survivor. Those are our 5 clues. I know you've been honed in on the show. You're locked in as far as giving analysis, so you have not had the time to think about it. But Dark is in reference to the name of the director of this movie. Press is in reference to a bench press, kind of a bench press scene where this person, one of the main character, just keeps lifting more and more weight. Their job is they work security. There is accidents, lots of accidents, but one specific one to kind of trigger the story, a train accident. And this person is a survivor, the lone survivor of a train accident. I tried to make a reference to Mr. Glass, but I thought that'd be too obvious, too on the nose. But this, of course, is Unbreakable. M. Night Shyamalan. Are you a fan of M. Night's work? You a fan of Unbreakable?
I think I've seen Unbreakable, but I wasn't paying attention to the clues. So
yeah, fair enough.
I don't really like M. Night Shyamalan movies or whatever.
It's a GPP play. Some of he has some big hits, and there's also Lady in the Water, which will that's a snowflake in your lineup for sure.
Oh, I got hit in chat for they said the nostalgia was kicking in with the movies, and they're not that good. We also watched Little Giants and Mighty Ducks. Those have made the list. We've watched.
Oh, don't get me started on the annexation of Puerto Rico, the worst defensive coaching mood of all time.
Yeah.
His team falls for like a reverse on the other team on the 1 yard line, and they go 99 yards. He doesn't put like 7 players back the last play of the game.
I know.
Ed O'Neill, worst coach ever in the history of movie cinema. Who's worse?
Great player, though. Great player.
Well, he's 4 touchdowns in one
The
game.
Heisman winner.
Are you doing this as an Al Bundy thing you're doing now?
No, that's what it's in the movie. He's a Heisman winner.
Oh, is he?
Put this town on the map. Yeah.
Wait a second.
Just
The
watched
premise.
it like a week ago.
I haven't seen it in forever. You're telling me that they're trying to tell me that Ed O'Neill is a Heisman winner?
Yeah.
What position? Running back?
I think so. Yeah.
Come on, get out of town. They can't be serious. I understand movie magic and all that, but nobody's looking at that guy and saying, "Yeah, definitely that guy was a Heisman winner." But hey, but he did score 4 touchdowns in one game. Yes, Polk High. We have Crunch Time coming in here. TastefulTides, Tim, Kirkdiese, Kirkwood jumping in here in just a second. We can go ahead and bring them on after you tell me who's breaking the slate. What do you got breaking the slate tonight, Bobby?
Kelly Oubre.
Kelly Oubre and the 76ers. There are 4 games, 4 of the 7 on DK that start at 7 o'clock. So want to be on top of that. Not a ton of backloading possible. I guess there is. We'll have that conversation. Well, Crunch Time will have that conversation amongst others. Let's go ahead. Let's do it. Let's bring in Crunch Time right now. Being told in chat that Neil did play. He tried out for the Steelers. Okay, that's cool. Yeah, but who's looking at Ed O'Neill and saying that? Yeah, that dude definitely won the Heisman. I did not realize that was a major plot point in Little Giants. Roth, look at you all over the Airbud stuff. Are the kids watching the Airbuds?
No, I actually Googled it because I only thought there was 1 or 2 Airbuds. There's like 20. I had no idea.
Airbud, greatest athlete in the history of sport.
Yeah, there's a lot of Airbuds. He is taking over space, apparently. There's like Airbud Aquanauts. There's all, I didn't know. The Airbuds keep coming.
I'm doing the Google now as well. World Pup, 7th Inning Fetch. Those are the classics. Space Buddies, which this is what you're referring to. Santa Buddies.
By the way, Dean, excellent clues today. Those were so reasonable. They weren't like 7 different things to connect to one clue. They all were just like, here's the clue. Here's what it means. It was great.
And guess what happened? It was guessed in 2 guesses.
Oh shit. Well, the bench press one was the bench press one was kind of the giveaway, honestly.
Yeah. I probably should have positioned that one afterwards. It's the ordering of the clues as well. Tim, are we in a new venue, right? Are we officially moved?
Yeah, we are officially moved. That's right.
Shout out to you.
Congrats.
Yep. My whole life is still in boxes though, so it's definitely a process.
Are you still in Bar Harbor?
No, I'm a town like 20 minutes south of that. Still on the same island though.
Okay, good. Because I'm coming up to visit you, so I need to make sure you're still in that area. So.
Hey man, let's do it.
All right.
We got to get we got to get a vlog for that. I want to see what Tim and Kevin are doing, hanging out together. We got Kirkwood as well, leader of the Juggalos. Tiny Hands play the day on layaway for sure. Bobby, anything else before we step aside and get out of here and make way for crunch time?
Oh no, that's it. Good luck tonight, guys, on the slate.
Do hit that like button. 39 minutes of nonstop NBA DFS conversation taking y'all at the lock. It starts right now. Kevin Roth, take it away.
Let's do it. Welcome to it, ladies and gents. You know the drill. It's crunch time. It's 2 of the sharpest minds in the biz. The aforementioned Tim in the house, freshly moved. I know you are not in a good mental space if you are still in the process of moving, but thank you for jumping on the show with us, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's awesome. I had taken like a week off, and it was quite the process. Lived in the same spot for like 10 years, so 10 years worth of just junk and boxes, and only had to drive like 25 minutes, but still, it's quite the ordeal either way. So
always,
it always is. I really hope this is the last time that.
What do you think the over/under on until all of your boxes are unpacked and things are hung?
So my wife has knee surgery in 2 days, so that's going to slow down the process even more. So I'm thinking like 60 days, probably 60 days is a good over under.
I was going to go 6 months. So, all right. That's pretty good.
I'm going to go like maybe a little over 2 months.
Okay.
I moved like 10 months ago, I think it was something, and I'm
Yeah.
looking at boxes right next to me still that I haven't touched.
Yeah. I moved 3 years ago, and there's still things that are not hung on the walls. So, it's tough. But we're in a different stage of life too. We got little ones, kind of running around, crawling around.
Tim, when are you gonna have some little ones? Little Tims.
Mine's 15.
Wow, you need to have a little one now.
I think we're done.
Yeah.
You're done?
I did the little one thing a long time ago.
Yeah. Good choice. We got Kirkdiese in the house as well. How are you?
I'm doing okay. I'm sweating Phil's vet. Phil's been a little under the weather, like hasn't been acting well. It's scaring me, my dog. And so I took him to the vet today, a bunch of blood work and stuff. So I gotta sweat that and hope he's all good. But other than that, I'm doing well.
Okay. Shout out to Phil. Why the name Phil? May I ask? Is there a reason there?
There was two. So when I got him, I was playing a lot of poker. And
Phil Helmuth.
Phil Ivey, not Helmuth.
Oh, excuse me.
But the real reason, the number one reason, is that this is a kind of a bad feeling story. But I had in second grade, my best friend ran out into the road after a t-ball or like a baseball game, and got hit by a car and died. And his name was Philip Loro, and I always said that I was going to name my first kid that, but I didn't think I was going to have a kid when I got Phil. I was like, you know what? The chances are pretty low I'm even going to have a kid at this one. So I named Phil dog. So he got the dog honor, and I did not name my son Phil.
You are low key the best dude I know. Like, it's so weird. I didn't think it, but the more I get to know you, the better. I'm sorry that happened, by the way, but that's awesome that you honored your buddy from second grade like that. Guys, we got to dive into things here. We've got 35 or so minutes here until we hit the old lock. We've got a lot happening. We've got some moving pieces. We got Maxey in. We got others out. So let's just jump into the content here. Kirkwood, you want to start on FanDuel at point guard, and we'll work our way down?
Sure. Let me give one refresh here. Sorry. All right. Well, let's talk about the slate anyway. So all the news pretty much is trickled in, right? We're not waiting on anything big, I don't think, because Tyrese Maxey was like the big piece that we were waiting on whether he was playing or not, but he's in. So I think we're good to go. So point guard. Well, I love Maxey. I love Harden. It's like Harden or Maxey. It's really a tough choice. I'm leaning Harden because he doesn't have a dinged finger like Maxey, but Maxey has that matchup with the Bulls. And that's another thing about this slate is we've got three of the worst team. We've got Utah, Washington, and the Bulls, which are just terrible. Defensively, we're always going against them. So that's where like you want to hone in most of your plays, especially like if you can get some value, but so I'm choosing Harden only because there's just everybody's out. He's healthy, but it's a little bit downgrade of the matchup with Detroit. But with Powell out and Kawhi out, I just feel like he's going to have to do everything. Maybe he won't be efficient. Maybe they look awful tonight. But if they're in this game, which they should be, then he should just have monster usage. So I'm leaning that way. But Tyrese is set right there with him. Other than that, there's Tyler Hero. Who's in a good spot against Atlanta. This game probably will run pretty fast this game. So Trae Young and Tyler Hero both make good plays, like even against each other if you wanted to bring them back against each other. Then we've got the Utah situation who just like Lauri Markkanen, John Collins, Walker Kessler are all out. And it's like which Jazz are going to get the minutes and going to be able to score. Portland's been playing better defense, but one guy I do feel pretty good about is Keontae George, although they've been using Kamara to shut down like top guards on the other team, and Kamara's been playing some insane D. So that's something to think about, but they might put him on Isaiah Collier instead. So it's one of those guys is going to have a great matchup. One of those guys is going to be a little bit worse than you were expecting. But Utah with all those guys, they're going to have no rim protection. Yeah. And then other than that, there's Josh Giddey and Anthony Simons and Jamal Murray I like.
Ooh, man, that's a lot of good point guards. Tim, I want to kick it to you. Let's start on that high range. I immediately was like, well, I need Maxey. I need him. He's going to score 40 real life points. But then Kirkwood made the case for Harden, and I think I need him too. Where are you going here?
Yeah, and I don't even think Kirkwood mentioned one of my favorite point guards on the high-ish end is Tyrese Halliburton for Indiana in a game with a 245 implied total. So
I wanted to leave you somebody. I had to leave you
Right.
somebody.
And that was awesome that you left him. He's currently in my single entry team on FanDuel, and he's also shooting guard eligible, which is pretty cool. So I do like Halliburton quite a bit. But yeah, I mean, definitely Maxey and Harden are, I would say, probably the two safest plays. Way safer than Halliburton. But I currently am rostering Halliburton in my single entry team on FanDuel. But totally on board with Harden's probably your cash game guy. Really, you could probably play both in cash games. But I mean, it's Harden is definitely the cash game guy on the high end. Josh Giddey, I think at 7,500 is a pretty strong play as well. Don't mind Anthony Simons at 6,900. He's another guy that's point guard, shooting guard eligible that I don't mind on the slate. He's probably going to be under 15%. So I like him in GPPs. But yeah, it's definitely it's a pretty loaded position tonight. I think Tyler Hero is also a really, really strong play as well in a really good matchup against Atlanta. So at 8,400, he is going to be, I think, the most popular point guard other than James Harden. So Hero is going to be chalky. That's one of the reasons why I'm pivoting to Halliburton, and hopefully Halliburton can outscore Hero. But Hero is probably safer.
You mentioned Hero. Is he going to be chalky because he's that good of a player? Or is it because he also has shooting guard eligibility and most of these other dudes are point guard only?
I mean, anytime you add a position, you will ultimately add a little bit of projected ownership. But I mean, it's a really good matchup. It's a really good spot for him. His usage is just kind of through the roof right now. So Hero is completely fine. I think a lot of optimals are giving you a lot of James Harden and a lot of Tyler Hero. Like if you're loading up on teams from lineup HQ, which you should be, especially in cash, Hero really stands out.
Okay, good stuff. Well, that does bring us to shooting guard, where you can play Hero. You can also play Quentin Grimes. His ownership is through the roof. Tim, what are you doing there?
Oh, did we just get some Chicago news, Kirky?
Vucevic
is out?
Yeah, he's out. Kobe White is in.
All right.
So what's your immediate response to Vooch being out?
I don't even know.
I got to look real quick. So Zach Collins is probably going to be a really, really strong play now. That might change some things for this slate.
Dirt cheap. I love that.
Yeah, I would assume I'd like to see what the projection team gives Zach Collins for minutes, but I would assume he's going to project very, 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 very strong.
They have no one else because Jalen Smith got hurt.
Right. So if you gave him like 28 minutes, I would assume he's going to be through the roof in terms of points per dollar.
Center is such a good position tonight too.
Yeah, that really is a pretty huge news, because that really does kind of change the dynamic of the slate, because it was pretty easy to pay up at center or play like Claxton or the Utah guy there. Filipowski
is what I was
thinking. Yeah.
Now
Filipowski was going to be super, super chalky, which you probably still will be. But now
this supersedes that, right?
Yeah, probably. I mean,
we don't know. Well, he's never seen big minutes like recently. Has he? Let's pull up his minutes. Like, has he even? We don't know what the Bulls are going to do, but like they don't have anyone else.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, let's keep rolling. We will get to center eventually, anyways. So we'll let the projection team kind of update things there. In the meantime, Tim, I think you were maybe just finishing up at shooting guard. Was there anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, I mean, I was just talking about shooting guard. I think one person that I didn't mention who's not point guard eligible would probably be Anthony Edwards, who's 9,700 on FanDuel. Probably a little bit better play on DraftKings, but I still think he's worth mentioning for GPP. And he's shooting guard, small forward eligible. Quentin Grimes is going to be the popular value play. I think that's completely fine. I think he's a really, really good price. He's only 5,500. Shooting guard, small forward eligibility, should play huge minutes in a really great matchup against Chicago. So you should be getting into a lot of Quentin Grimes in optimals, and I do like that play quite a bit. Another person that I should have mentioned, who's point guard, shooting guard again, is probably a guy, Keontae George. A lot of these other Utah players are going to be super, super popular. Keontae George is going to be around 25%. So still popular, but not as chalky as guys like Sensabaugh and Filipowski. So I think he's definitely worth a shot in GPP.
Okay, good stuff. Kirk, your thoughts at shooting guard? I also want to note Bogdanovich is starting. And I'm looking at his price. He's eligible here, and he is 4.5.
All right. Yeah, he's probably okay. It all depends. We have lots of value around, so I think he's in play. But based on the slate, I don't think he's a must play at this point. But let's talk about Tyler Hero. Another thing that needs to be said is that he's scored literally 40 real points in 2 of his last 3 games, and he's pushed like 40% usage, which is absolutely elite. So he is just rolling right now, and then he gets this nice matchup with Atlanta and Trey, and so I just want to reiterate that I really do like him a lot. I do also like Tyrese Halliburton, even though I didn't mention him and Tim did, but I do like him. Quentin Grimes, 5,500 is great for this role in this matchup. It's the Bulls. Like they leak a lot of defensive stats, and that's where this guy's going to go off and then scoring, and he can score too. So, but FanDuel, those stocks are going to be important for him. Josh Giddey, Kelly Oubre gets a bump. Now he's much better on DraftKings. He's only 5,500. He's ridiculously cheap over there. Too cheap, but 6,700 on FanDuel, but still in play. Anthony Simons, I like. Svi is a 3,900 piece of value. If he starts there, he has to play tonight. He was projected to start. I think it was yesterday, or I don't know. Everything's a blur, but and then he didn't even play. End up playing. So if he's not starting, I might get a little bit scared, but I feel like they just have to use him tonight. And then I should mention Chris Dunn. Not a great matchup or anything, but he's going to play a boatload of minutes because with everybody out on the Clippers.
Yeah. Okay. Good
Zach Collins is starting, by the way.
Yeah,
buddy. Okay.
Yeah.
That brings us small forward. What are we doing there?
Well, Paul George is going to be very popular tonight. Here's another thing, though. Paul George stinks right now. So you can't just crush his rates when you're making his projection, but he's been really bad. So you can make a choice. So for me, I look at him at this ownership, and I'd rather just fade him, almost fade him completely. But maybe he turns back maybe he gets it going and he's sick of getting crushed on Twitter, but I don't think he is, because these guys are so rich, right? But anyways, so Paul George, do what you want with that. I say fade. Quentin Grimes, I like better for the cheaper salary. I like Kelly Oubre, probably better. Bryce Sensabaugh for the Jazz. He's a guy who can score. They're going to need scoring in this game. It's got to come from somewhere. He's a good candidate, and he's cheap. Denny Avdia looks pretty strong to me. Guy has a great ceiling, and this is a cupcake matchup with Utah and all the rim protection out and whatnot. So definitely like him, and gotta give a Brooklyn net some love because they're playing Washington. So Cam Johnson would probably be my first choice, but obviously we're gonna get to Nick Claxton. I like him a lot too. I also they're there's just a lot of plays on that you can go with on Brooklyn. But Cam Johnson gets buckets, so I like him.
Derek pointing out Paul George is the Supercuts fade of the day sponsored Supercuts. We get $1,000 every time we say that. Thank you. Good job, Derek. Kirk Javier says, who was the 3-9 guy that you mentioned?
Who did I mention? Svi, did I?
Yeah, you did mention him.
Which position?
I don't know. I mean, you're the one who said it. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't remember. I was just looking through the slate, and
I didn't hear you say 3-9, but maybe I wasn't listening. Okay. Anyway, you're fine.
Well, somebody in chat will know, right?
Someone. All right.
Yeah. So I'm done. So it's Tim.
Yeah, Tim. What do you do in a small forward?
Yeah, so you're definitely going to be plugging in Bryce Sensabaugh at 4K. He's small forward only on FanDuel. I think he's just a plug and play. If you're not playing Grimes at shooting guard, you're playing him at small forward. Then there's some other guys like Atvia that Kirky mentioned at 7K. I like him quite a bit. I like Jeremy Grant at 5'6" quite a bit also. That game is just loaded with a lot of strong plays. Tumani Kamara at 6'1". It looks like he's going to be lower owned than Grant. I like getting to Kamara in GPPs over Grant. A little bit of leverage there. Bogdanovich is starting now. He's 4-5. I think he's a pretty strong value play as well. So this is really looking like a position where I want to stay either in the mid range or just go really cheap. I have no interest in Paul George tonight. I understand that he's, projecting really well, but really I'm not going to play him into ownership. So I have no interest in Paul George. I have some interest in guys like Cam Johnson at 6,900. And I also have quite a bit of interest in Zaire Williams. That Brooklyn team is interesting tonight, going up against Washington. So I do like Brooklyn a little bit tonight. So wouldn't mind getting to one of those two Brooklyn wings. Andrew Wiggins, I know it's kind of gross, but he's playing huge minutes. So I think he's at least interesting for GPPs. Kevin Huerter, I think, especially now that Chicago's even down another guy. So I think Kevin Huerter at 4,100 is a decent value play as well. Oh, and one other person, Kelly Oubre, projected to play 37 minutes, 6,700. Going to be right around 10% projected ownership. So I mean, I do like Kelly Oubre in GPPs as well.
Okay, good stuff, Tim. Take me to power forward. Yeah,
so on FanDuel, Zach Collins is power forward only. So 3,900. We don't have a projections update, I don't think quite yet, but I'm imagining that he's going to project really well. So at 3,900, Zach Collins, power forward only on FanDuel. I think he's a really outstanding value. So yeah, we do have a projections update. So yeah, Zach Collins is now a 10.32 RG value. So he's basically a must play in all formats now. So he's definitely your first guy in. Kyle Filipowski was going to be the super chalky power forward. But I think you can play both of them really, because they're both awesome values. I thought Dean made a really good point in the last show about KJ Martin as a pivot off of Filipowski. I think that's decent if you're making like a portfolio of teams. Filipowski is still the better cash game and single entry play, but I thought that was a really good point by him. So I don't mind that. I don't mind Pascal Siakam if you're looking to like pay up to get different at that position. Yeah. Same thing with Bam at 8,200. I think he would be okay as well as a spend up to get different. But really, you're starting off with Zach Collins, and you're probably going Filipowski in cash.
Yeah, a good spot to save. You're spending up for all the awesome guards we talked about. That's kind of the chalk build, I suppose. Kirk, what are we doing here at power forward?
Yeah, Zach Collins is now the best play on the slate projection wise. So I think you got to just eat this chalk. And it's nice that he is power forward on FanDuel. So I was thinking he would be center because I wasn't looking at him before. Anyway, Filipowski would be the next guy who's Probably going to drop down a little bit because ownership's going to, a lot of it's going to come on to Collins now, but still a good play. I mean, he's got to play close to 30 minutes most likely in this game, so he's 4,500. Bam, good matchup with Atlanta. 8,200 is a good price. Paul George is going to be popular, but like I said, that's the Supercuts fade play of the day. Pascal Siakam, if you want to get a little weird, just for out there for GPPs. Trendon Watford is another guy I like on Brooklyn. Like, if you make a lineup and you look and you don't see like you have at least a little Brooklyn, like get a little bit of Brooklyn exposure, get some Utah exposure, and who's the other team that we're seeing here? And obviously anybody facing the Bulls, so the Philly exposure. Yeah, that's about it. KJ Martin's still in play too, and Denny Avdia again. If you want kind of a low-owned upside stuff, I think this is the matchup for Sabonis tonight against the Hornets. I think he should do some damage. Now, he doesn't usually break a slate, but he still looks really good.
Yeah, I love that call. All right, how about center?
All right, center. Okay, Joker. It's quite a price to pay, but that upside in this total and this matchup with the Pacers, hard to ignore. Richaun Holmes is getting some love. Not sure I love it that much. I rather would go to the other side and play Claxton just because he's better. And Richaun Holmes just kept getting torched these days on defense. So I like him. Kalal Ware, the poor, that's all we have now. The poor man's Wemby. Closest thing that we can get to playing Wemby would be Kalal Ware, but big difference. Bam, like I said, Nick Claxton, I love. I also like Klingon, Donovan Klingon again. Now it's frustrating what they do with his minutes, but at least Robert Williams is out tonight, so he should, unless they go small, which is always a possibility. But I think Klingon's going to get minutes now, like 25 to 30 minutes. If he does that, I think he's going to smash. Utah, just without Kessler, he should dominate the glass in this game. And also Zubac, so it should be Harden and Zubac, like all the usage and scoring opportunities for the Clippers against Detroit.
I like that sneaky late Zubac call. I can't get him in my lineup, but I like that call. Tim, what are you doing at center?
Yeah, I wasn't going to be playing Jokic on FanDuel, but I am now, just because there's so much value. It's with Zach Collins now. It's so easy. I was going to be playing Nick Claxton at 6'6", which I still love in GPPs. So he's been playing fantastic. He gets a great matchup against Washington. So I like him quite a bit. I don't mind the Bam call, but I'd probably prefer to play him at power forward. Guys like Richaun Holmes were going to be kind of popular. I think he's still okay. But still, Collins is such a better value. I don't know if you have to like punt center also. So I think he might just be kind of like a large field GPP play only. I don't mind Naz Reid also at 8,100. Nobody's going to play him. I don't mind going back to a Kongwu like last night. He was a really, really awesome play. 6,700. I think he's okay for GPPs. Anyone kind of like in this mid range is going to go super, super low owned because people are either going to go all the way up to Jokic or down to like somebody like Richaun Holmes, unless they play Claxton. Claxton might be somewhat popular, but I think guys like Holmes and Philip Housey are going to be much more popular.
Okay, good stuff, guys. We got to kick it over to DK here. Before we do that, I want to make sure you're getting some of the best deals in the industry. That's what we've got going on at RotoGrinders right about meow as I'm struggling to find my read. Make sure you're signing up because if you sign up right now, you know what you get. For a limited time, your first month of Combo Pro is $79.99. That's $15 more than PGA Premium. What? That's crazy. It's only $5 more than NBA Premium. That's insane. It's a great value. Sign up for RotoGrinders Premium, and you can be at the top of the leaderboard like the three of us will be later tonight. Let's go to DK. Tim, you get to lead us off there. Point guard. I assume it's a lot of the same names.
Yeah, it really is. You're going to be starting off with James Harden at 9,700. He's going to be like your cash game guy, and then you can pivot off of him to somebody like a Tyrese Halliburton, a Tyrese Maxey. All those are great plays. Wouldn't mind going back to like some Cade Cunningham, who's going to be super low owned tonight. I think he's okay. Anthony Edwards is a strong play. He's probably better at shooting guard though, but I mean he's a great play. Josh Giddey, Noto's got him as a core play. I don't really have that much of a problem with that. I think he's fine at 7,400. I really like Jamal Murray tonight also. I really like that Denver Indy game. So finding low-owned ways to build into that game I think is a good idea in GPP. So I like Jamal Murray tonight. There's really not like a cheap point guard that I love. I think Lonzo Ball is okay. But I think he's probably better at shooting guard, but I think he's an okay value.
Okay. We don't really have time for this conversation now, but 3 or 4 years ago, I feel like we thought James Harden was washed. And now we're paying almost $10K for him and excited to do it, which is a pretty great turnaround for a dude who at a time seemed like maybe he was on the tail end of his career, and he's still got it going here. Kirkdiese, what are you doing at point?
I want to be on record. I never thought he was washed.
No? Okay. All right. People, he's fat, he's washed. Mostly he just probably wasn't trying to get out of whatever city he was in. Someone said that was only bitter Rockets fans. All right, guilty. You caught me.
No, I'm kidding. Anyway, but Tyrese Maxey and Harden are like we could do a poll right now and let's see what chat says. Like Harden versus Maxey, it's like so close. Then from there, Josh Giddey, just gonna have to do a lot of scoring, especially with Vooch out. Like this game should be good with like Vooch and Embiid out. Like these guards should on both sides should be able to attack the hoop at will. Tyrese Halliburton, Trey. All the same names. Tyler Hero, 8,500 looks fine for the kind of production he's been putting up and the usage rate as of late. Keontae George, and then it's Shea. I think I'm out on Shea tonight just because of the back-to-back. But like, you probably should never be out on Shea.
Yeah.
So just put it out there that if you want to play him, he's totally fine. And then other than that, Anthony Simons and Jamal Murray, I like.
Sure. All right, shooting guard.
All right.
And this is where Oubre comes into play here on DK.
Just
Crazy
too cheap. 5,500 against the Bulls without Embiid. Like, that's just a mispricing. Anthony Edwards was going off, keeping him in the game. It's a little bit scary with the back-to-back, but he could definitely do it again. So I don't mind him at all. Anthony Simons, like I said, Jamal Murray, like I said, Quentin Grimes in play, Dyson Daniels, Kobe White, and then I'll mention Svi. I'm not even going to butcher his last name. Like, I don't even want to try. Yeah. 4K.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
Tim, shooting guard.
Yeah, so definitely like the Kelly Oubre call. Quentin Grimes also fantastic play. Kevin Herter, if you need somebody super cheap, I think is fine. He's 3,600. Should be in line for like, I don't know, probably around 30 minutes tonight. So like him quite a bit if you need the cheapie. Anthony Simons, I think, is a really good call at 6,700. I already talked about Jamal Murray. Tumani Kamara at 5,600, I think is fine. I do like Anthony Edwards tonight. I'm not going to get to him, but I think he's a really solid GPP play. And then I think that would really be about it. And then I already talked about Lonzo Ball also.
Okay. Did you? Did I miss that conversation?
Well, he in the point guard spot, he's like the only guy that I would play like that's cheap.
I got you. Okay.
Yeah.
Struggling over here. Take me to. Let's do
Small
forwards together.
Forwards together. Okay. So you're still gonna be playing Bryce Sensabaugh at 4,200. I think he's still a fantastic play. Kelly Oubre, if you're not playing him at shooting guard, I think he's fine in the small forward spot. Denny Apvia at 63, I think that's too cheap for him. Jeremy Grant at 5,200, that's too cheap also.
These
So
are like
there's
all
some-
save spots here, right?
I know there's like a lot of amazing value right here. If you want to spend up, it would be Bam for me or Pascal Siakam. Those would be my two spend up guys. But really, and then I don't mind going back to Cam Johnson, kind of in the mid range.
Okay, Kirk, you got some thoughts here at forward? That means small forward and power forward.
Yeah. Oubre, Avdia are the two probably best plays, I think. Like Tim said, Bam, if you want to spend up. I'm just going to skip over Paul George. If he screws me, he screws me. But he
Supercuts fate of the day.
Yes, can't back out now, right? Like once you sit down in that chair, you gotta let them.
That's right. Yeah.
Let them finish. Close your eyes and see what happens. Pascal Siakam.
You did not mention Sensabaugh when you said Oubre and Abdi are the best plays. You just passed right over Sensabaugh, who is the second highest owned dude.
Well, so that's now that we have Zach Collins chalk, it's just like there's only so much chalk we can play for cheap value that we need. But he's certainly I was gonna get to him next, but I'm kind of like he's less of a priority now than he used to be. But certainly a good play. Also Buzz Lightyear. Gotta give shout out to Buzz Lightyear. I'm not even gonna butcher his name, but you know who he is on Chicago.
No, I actually have no idea who the hell you're talking about.
Matas Bozelis or something.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm sorry. I should have made that connection. All right. Let's go to the center spot. What are you doing there, Kirk?
All right. We got a lot of options here. So Zach Collins only selling eligible, but at least you get the utility spot. It's probably a 2-center night tonight. Actually, I think it is a 2-center night, and one of them is Zach Collins, and then either Joker or Claxton or Zubac or Filipowski if you really want to value it up for Collins and Filipowski together. Miles Turner, I guess, is a good play against Denver. You know, other opposing centers have been pretty good against Joker and Denver this season, so I'm not so scared of the matchup like I used to. But you know, foul trouble is always an issue potentially, you know, for the guys against them. But 6,200 is perfectly playable for Miles Turner. He's going to be extremely low owned. Donovan Clingan, I like Portland. Like I said, I think he's going to play. You don't know with the minutes how this game's going to turn out, what Chauncey Billups is going to do. But without Time Lord Robert Williams there, 5,500 on DK, I think he's going to abuse the glass without Walker Kessler. And so I'm definitely on board then. You can play the Dancing Bear, Gabasel Yabusele, that's good. I listed enough.
I'm glad you said you feel it is a 2-center build because I feel it is a Maxey Harden hero build on DK, and I'm going to win all the damn money. Am I right?
You certainly can. I mean, there's low. Yeah, you can. But you don't. You're going to use the two cheap centers, right?
I mean, I can't.
You can't.
You can't do that because Hero's not shooting guard eligible in DK. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've got Collins, and I'm just leaving out the Filipowski character.
Yeah, I would. Yeah. I love Claxton. I love Clingan too. But yeah, it's a good build.
All right. Tim, your thoughts at center real quick, and then we'll open it up to a couple questions before lock.
Yeah, basically the same as Kirky. I love Claxton too. I was going to play him. Now I'm not going to. I definitely am playing Jokic tonight. Zach Collins is your cheap chalk. But I do think Claxton will end up getting squeezed. So I love him for GPPs.
Yeah. All right. Good stuff, guys. Let's open it up to the QQs. We got a bunch of them already coming in. Actually, we had one from TJ, and not that I show preference, but since he is my coworker and I like him, I am going to start with that. DKGPP from TJ. Kirk, you want Harden, Nas, Claxton, or Oubre, Abdia, Jokic?
Oubre, Abdia, Joker.
Okay, very good. Checking out what we got in the old Discord. FanDuel cash question for you, Tim. Keontae George, Abdia, and Filipowski, or Grimes, Herter, and Bam?
The first one.
Can I play Kaishan George? Can I play Kaishan George?
Certainly can.
Yeah.
Good. That was a personal question for what it's worth. Maxi,
You might lose. You might lose too, but you can.
Yeah, well, that's generally do. Maxi v Hero, Tim. Who do you like?
I'm gonna go Maxi.
Okay, Kirk 3v3. It's a FanDuel cash question here. Hero, Wiggy, Filipowski, or Paul George, Herter, and Bam. Paul George is the Supercuts spade of the day. The dude who does my hair and has done it for 5 years, his clippers are so loud that anytime it gets near my ear, it literally hurts. And I
need a good pair of clippers that, like, like the ones who have like the bomb ones, like that they do your neck hair and it's like as good as like a straight razor or something. Like, I need that. I've been searching for that and I've never found that.
You do it yourself?
Well, my neck hair I do from time to time. I have this little thing that you just stick over there.
Okay, I don't want to know. I don't need these details before lock. Kamara with lower ownership or a chalk Oubre, Tim, in a DK GPP?
That's a really good 1v1. I don't know. I like Oubre a ton, so I'd stick with Oubre.
All right. Kirk, DK GPP, thoughts on Julian Phillips?
I have no thoughts.
Oh, okay, you have none at all. So it's an attachment that it's like an attachment that you reach over and.
So he's Julian Spector. I never really thought about minutes, but he's a de facto big for the Bulls now. At 3,400, probably going to play 20 to 25 minutes somewhere around there. So he's playable. Like he's going to be extremely low owned, no owned.
Okay,
so that's good. Whoever's thinking like that, I like that.
It started with hate, and you kind of came around to that play. Do you like Cade, Tim? You like Cade? We didn't talk about Cade.
I mean, it's not the best spot, but he's going to be so low owned. Obviously,
owned. He's going to be no owned.
Yeah, I mean, he's a fantastic player. So I can't say I hate it, but I don't love it.
Yeah. All right. Moments, seconds until lock. DK GPP. Kirk, Maxi, Aaron Gordon, or Abdia Sensabah? It's the second one.
Yep, second one. So I just switched my lineup. My whole night is going to come down. I just picked Harden over Maxi, and that's my whole night.
That's it. I couldn't make that choice.
Really tough spot.
Couldn't make that choice, so I said, give me both and Hero. Give me all of them. Give me all them guards. They're all dropping I feel good. I feel good about my lineup. It has nothing to do with the Pacificos I'm pounding. All right, gentlemen. I think it is time to bounce on out of here. Good show. Good stuff. Hey, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit us with a thumbs up. These guys are smart. They know what they're doing. They helped you out through the show. So we're going to clear on out for Tim, for Kirk, for our wonderful production crew, always working hard behind the scenes. Guys, we appreciate you. We love you. And we will catch you tomorrow. You have been